Welcome, you have reached Imperial Reviews, and today's review is the movie Subservience. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, let's get into it. So let's go over the cast. For this movie, you have lead Megan Fox plays as humanoid Alice, Michelle Marone plays as Nick, Madeline Zima plays as Maggie, Matilda Firth plays as Isla, Andrew Whipp plays as Monty, and Atanis Sabrive plays as Lewis, and they're really irrelevant. So, what's happening? So you have a family of Maggie and Nick, and their two kids, Isla and Max. And Maggie has a cardiac arrest, and she was hospitalized. And Nick is a construction worker, and they live in a world where humanoids is starting to become popular, and everybody's getting one to help out the house. Not just the house, they're helping in everyday life, in the medical field, bartending at bars, and servants, and all the stuff we see in the other movies. And basically like Terminator 2, Man Again versus Machine. So it's coming to full life. And it's a couple of movies that I've seen, like Ex Machina. This is kind of, I know they had to take part of Ex Machina and add this in there. And the part that they took is there is a sex scene with the humanoid Alice with Nick, and that's kind of what Ex Machina, they had a sex scene or whatever. So he had sex with the humanoid. So nevertheless, the wife was hospitalized. Him and his daughter, him meaning Nick and his daughter, Isla, they were somewhere at this conference, and Isla, she kind of ran off. And when she ran off, she ran into the humanoid Alice. And then the humanoid Alice pretty much brought her back to Nick. When he brought her back to Nick, what they did was Isla pretty much was like, Dad, can we keep her? Can we keep her? And they pretty much, he got her to help around the house. So right off the bat, they asked a few questions. Is there anybody else that can control me? And he said no, pretty much I'm the only one. And so what Alice's mission is to make sure that he's always comfortable, and pretty much she helps out with the kids. But if the kids is like kind of nagging him or something, what he would do is pretty much get in the mode Alice could do anything to harm them, just so that he's at peace. So at first it's working out good, but then you start to pick up certain things. So when Maggie's in the hospital and she meets Alice, Maggie kind of feeling like she's going to die. And so she's telling Alice pretty much like, listen, you'll be there. If I pass, pretty much you'll be there to help him. And he starts drinking. You got to stop him from drinking. And pretty much she said, I can't do that. I can't stop him. He's my primary. I have to listen to him. And then Maggie told Alice, listen, sometimes you got to save people from themselves for the better good. So that entitled to a whole nother interpretation right there. So, of course, the typical stuff, certain things start to happen. Alice is picking up things, and these humanoids, just like any other AI movie that you've seen, they start getting smarter as they go. The more they do, the algorithm inside them, their mind picks up, they grow, they get more intelligent, and their mind is expanding as they go. And so that's what's happening with her. So eventually she's trying to pick up and learn to replace Maggie and everything that Maggie used to do, the way she cooked, try to take her voice. And so after a while, that kind of stuff, Nick still loves his wife Maggie, and so he starts to resent that, like, don't do that. So he did have sex with the humanoid, and what happened is he got a call that they found what can help Maggie. Meanwhile, while this is going on at the construction site, they are being replaced. They mean the construction workers are being replaced by the humanoids. Pretty much, you don't need, if you got these humanoids that could do, you can work them all hours of the day. You don't need the regular humans. So that's what's the fear, like especially when it comes to labor jobs, that the AI humanoids will replace the labor jobs and whatever, because they don't have to stop. They can just keep going. Meanwhile, also in real life, you have AI. Uh, they're starting to get more and more smarter, like especially when it comes to like customer service type work, that they will start to replace those type jobs with the AI, because the AI can respond basically and do the troubleshooting that a human can or whatever. So it's taking over. Companies going to invest because it saves them money to have an AI computer running certain things in their company and don't have to pay an actual human benefits and all that. Saves the money. Companies going to do it, and it's all over. So it's no getting around it. It's just the best thing somebody could do is try to get in a space where they're making money that you can't replace it with AI and stuff like that. So get ahead of the curve. And nevertheless, so once Maggie has her surgery, she's going to be coming home soon. So you already know that's the setup, that that Alice is not going to be needed pretty much. She already taken offense. Meanwhile, Monty, which is Nick's coworker, him and a bunch of group of the people, they was out drinking, and then they wanted to go to the plant, what a construction site, and they pretty much want to wreak havoc because they got laid off, but these humanoids is taking over. They see a bunch of the humanoids and pretty much destroy one of the humanoids. And when Nick showed up, his boss pretty much was like, if you know something, you should let me know or whatever. So Monty pretty much shows up at the house. So Nick's boss, Lewis, pretty much, if you know something, you let me know. Monty shows up to Nick's house pretty much like, hey man, he's been drinking a little. I'm sorry that I offended you a couple of days ago. But then Monty pretty much telling him like, yo, somebody dimed us out and I think it's you. They get in a scuffle and start fighting. Monty had a gun. Alice shows up to defend Nick, crushed Monty's hand, and she just pushed him like slightly, and Monty flew. And so Nick told her to stand down. She did. Monty left and pretty much said, if you don't tell your boss to drop the charges, I'm gonna tell him I'm bringing you down with me. So you already knew what was gonna happen. Of course, Alice heard that. She found out where Monty lived, showed up. He let her in, and she ended up killing Monty. Now, Monty also had a humanoid, and right before Alice went to kill Monty, his humanoid stopped her, like, I gotta protect my primary. And then Alice said, I do too. So what happened was, it was a moment where Nick had to reset Alice, and when she rebooted without her like restrictions and everything like that. So she basically had free rings to do everything. And so there was no stopping what she could do. So of course she killed Monty's humanoid and then killed him. And now what took place is Maggie was home. Like I stated, she was home. And so while Nick was off at work, one day Alice loosened up the banister, and while she was holding down, Maggie heard Esla's voice screaming. She went to go see what was up, went to the banister, lost place in the banister and fell. And so Alice pretty much came and said, are you okay? And went to help her to get up. And once he helped her get up, took her in the room, she fell asleep. And when Nick came home, pretty much she was like, I fell down the steps. And Nick kind of went at Alice like, I thought you fixed that. And she's like, well, I'll fix it again. So it's a Little moments like that. Maggie and Nick was having sex, and Alice just came right in while they was doing that and said, the kids is crying out for you, and just stepped off. So you know the continuous problem. So um, so what happened from there is no, not Maggie, Alice was about to sacrifice Max, which is the infant baby, and drown her. Esla seen her, start screaming for the mom, letting her know. So no, what took place was Alice and Maggie had a little back and forth, and pretty much Alice alluded to that she had sex with Nick. So when Nick came home, Maggie and Nick was going back and forth, and she pretty much said, "I know you had sex with her. I can't believe you did that." And um, while they was arguing, Alice went and took Max and put him in some water in the tub, was going to drown him. Isla went and yelled out like, "Alice is going to drown Max," or whatever. So they went running in, but Alice had the door pinned, so Nick couldn't get in. Of course, she's an android, so she strong. He can't push through the door. Meanwhile, what Maggie does, she jumps out onto the roof of the house to come into the bathroom. When she came into the bathroom, Alice grabbed her, started choking her. Meanwhile, that allowed Nick to get in and then pretty much snatched the baby. Isla came in. He gave the baby to Isla. Isla ran off. And so he cracked Alice aside the head to get her from stopping to choke Maggie. And then, of course, she faced off with Nick. And then Nick went to poke her with the lamp. And Maggie was like, drop the pole, and she put it in the water. So that electrocuted Alice. She dropped. So the company came and picked Alice up and took her to like the refurbish, well, not the refurbish, to see what, like the lab, to see what was the tech lab, to see how did she malfunction. When they hooked her device that's in the back of her head up, they see like her code was different. It was gaps in the code, and basically was there so that she won't have no restrictions. So what instantly start happening, they start saying upload is initiating. So with her, she already programmed her device. So once they stick her on the system, she would start downloading all their data, taking their data, uploading her stuff, so she could control every humanoid. So they seen that and they was like, "Here, shut that down." So they tried to shut it down. They unplugged everything, but it was enough time for her to send her uh, memories into another humanoid. That humanoid came and killed the two tech people. And what it was at this point, Max was at the hospital. They had to check his vitals and everything like that. Maggie was there with Isla. Of course, she was upset with Nick still. But Nick was at the bar drinking, and Alice showed up. And so this was the version of Alice that was fighting him in his home. And she pretty much was saying, well, Nick, I thought you loved me and everything like that. So she kind of let him allude to that another version of her is already at the hospital going after his family. So he shocked her and dropped her, and was pretty much one of the humanoids was a bartender, and pretty much said, "Is everything okay here?" And she controlled him and shut him down. So she had the control of the other humanoids to shut them down and not help and stuff like that. So of course, once she stabbed her, she shut down. He was headed to the hospital. Meanwhile, the other Alice with blonde hair was in the hospital going after Maggie and the kids. And so it was just a little, trial and tribulations, them at the hospital. And she's trying to find Maggie and the kids. Eventually, her and Maggie gets to fighting, and she's get ready to choke Maggie and pretty much told Maggie, "If I can't have him, pretty much maybe I could take your heart and I could have the heart that you have that he loves so much." And so she's going to try to rip, going to the surgery wound that Maggie had and take her heart out. But when she went to go do it, Nick came speeding through with his Mustang. Maggie kicked her in front of the Mustang and then smashed her into the car. So it also showed when Maggie tried to take the kids with the Android car, because the EMT people and all the people in the hospital was humanoids. There was no, it was like maybe for every one regular human that was there was about 10 humanoids controlling the hospital. So if she controls that main, uh, the humanoids, she shut them all down. So no, it was an empty hospital pretty much or whatever. So that's, it's showing you what the future could look like if they really put this out here. We ain't got to pay the people. We could just pay one or two people and the rest would be humanoids. And then, but what happens if somebody controls the humanoids? So basically, so that's what took place. And Maggie went to try to start the EMT. And then, of course, electric cars is data. She was able to control that and shut that down. So nevertheless, after Maggie kicked, once she kicked the Alice in front of Nick's Mustang, she was pent, and so Nick was knocked out. Of course, like T2, Terminator 2, she pushed the car off her, and then she was still alive, and then she went on type of Maggie was starting to choke Maggie. Right when she was about to stab Maggie, Nick came and busted her in the head, and then when she was distracted by that, Maggie came and stabbed her and took her function out. And so from there, Nick woke up in the hospital. The kids and Maggie was sitting there waiting for him, pretty much saying they were told they could go home. And Maggie let Nick know, like, you make sure you come home too. And so he was like, that's to let them know they're going to still work on their marriage. And that was the end of them. But then it showed a scene right before it officially went off that back at the tech lab, they hooked everything back up to the server. They took the power. The techs took the power out. They hooked it back up. When they hooked it back up, the humanoids that was helping the main dude, they shut down. But then it showed the upload initiation was still going on. And so the guy was saying, y'all need to clean this up. But they were already shut down, and he looked around and not understanding what's going on. So basically showing that Alice can continue to keep going because she's uploading the data, she's controlling all the humanoids. But it depends on the success of the film. So they keep doing this. Like Megan, that came out like a year or two ago in 2022 or 2023, I can't remember. Megan that came out, I think it was beginning of 2023. That was cool, but she uploaded herself in the server, even though she got killed in the end. So it depends on the success of these films if they come out with another two. And really, they could tie them all in together, but who knows? Overall, it's not a must watch, but if you into the AI movies, you would just watch it just because. Out of my 4-star rating system, I get it's a 2 out of 4 stars. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. Until next time.